by AccountantsWorld. My name is Div Bansali. I'm a vice president with AccountantsWorld. And today we'll be talking about 5 ways to build sustainable value for your practice. I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to go ahead and write those in. I'll try to answer some questions during, and I'll certainly be able to answer afterwards as well. So when we think about how to build more value in your practice and boost your profitability, there's sort of a conventional line of thinking about that. And the conventional line of thinking says, well, where I'm going to look to build more value in my practice is certainly not going to be in accounting and payroll. And the reason is that most accountants say, well, I know that my clients perceive accounting and payroll to be commoditized services. They think it's a commodity. They don't think there's very much difference between what I would do for them in accounting and payroll services versus what someone else down the street or in the next town over would be able to provide, or even in the next state over. So it's very difficult to be able to make more money from a commodity. All right? We tend to look down on commoditized products and services and we try to stay away from them. So what many accountants end up doing, and again, this is conventional thinking, is that they begin to look at other options. So one option that many accountants have been thinking about is value billing. And so value billing, for those of you who aren't familiar with the term, it's gotten a lot of buzz in the accounting industry recently. Sometimes it's called value pricing, which is not exactly the same concept, but is very similar. So the concept behind value billing is to charge a price for a service based on its perceived value to the client, right? And intuitively, this makes a lot of sense. It makes sense that the higher your client's perceived value of a service that you're providing to them, the more you're going to charge them for it. But the problem is that the majority of accounting and CPA firms derive over 80% of their revenue from core services, which means tax, audit, accounting, and payroll. And those services are perceived as commoditized services. So you can't really value bill your way to more profits if the perception is low, if the perception from your clients is that this is a commoditized service. All right, so value billing, we don't feel like it really applies to the vast majority of where your revenue is coming from right now. So what else can we do? Well, another possible approach is that we simply charge more per hour. But of course, then we have to consider what kind of impact is that going to have on client retention, right? And many accountants are very worried about client retention, particularly if they go to their clients and say, we're going to be charging you more per hour without providing a clear, perceivable improvement in the services we're providing. So then the last thing that we can think about doing is adding new services that we're not currently offering. And so the key question there, and I think that's a very interesting and strong way of thinking in terms of adding new services, but the key question to ask ourselves is, do we have the right tools and expertise in-house to be able to offer those new services? And if not, where are those gaps currently? So what we're going to talk about today is actually counterintuitive to that conventional wisdom that we just saw on the last slide. What we're going to be talking about today is looking at accounting and payroll through a different lens and recognizing that even though those are commodity services, we fully acknowledge that, the reality is you can actually add 20%, 30%, or even 50% more to your bottom line from those core services. And best of all, you can do it without increasing your workload or having to add new clients or staff. So the key here is to not overlook accounting and payroll. Many accountants, when they're looking in the horizon and their vision for their service, they're sort of treating accounting and payroll as being default certainties, that we already know exactly what we get from those in terms of revenue and profitability, and there's nothing to be done to improve those. And we're going to really try to go against that today and say that there are actually things you can do to dramatically reshape your accounting and payroll services. So to understand how we can do that, we need to understand a reality of the digital age that we live in. So the common notion is that the price that a buyer is going to pay for a product or service depends upon the perceived value of that product or service in the minds of buyers, right? That makes sense. The more that they value it, the higher the price that we can charge them. But what we're finding is that major companies are turning that concept of value on its head. they're fundamentally altering the correlation between value and pricing. So let me give you some examples of that. Google Maps is a great example. I use Google Maps every single day and have for years and years. And it has replaced my GPS, it's replaced paper maps, it integrates with thousands of third-party apps to make it even more useful. And yet I have never paid a single penny to use Google Maps, right? So incredibly valuable, but no cost at all to me, the end customer. Now you might say, well, that's a consumer service. That wouldn't apply to a business service. Well, let me actually give you a very interesting example. Amazon.com is one of the most valuable companies in the world. And many people think it's because of the millions of items that they sell on their website. But actually, the single most important reason for their tremendous valuation is a business service they offer called Amazon Web Services, or AWS. And AWS is a hosting service used by some of the most successful companies out there, including Netflix, Yelp, Expedia, Samsung, and a large percentage of Fortune 500 companies. It's an incredibly useful service. It's the lifeline of many online businesses. And yet what Amazon charges for this service is really a commodity price. They charge a very, very low price for a service that's perceived as being incredibly useful to customers. So we see here that some of the most valuable and successful companies in the world are achieving that status today by turning something that's of high value into a commodity. They've become highly successful by defying the conventional wisdom about commoditization. So the question then arises, well, how did they do that? And what we find is that there's actually a common thread among all of these companies, and that is that they all use the cloud innovatively. And that's precisely what we're going to talk about doing today to convert your commoditized accounting and payroll services into greater profits. So I want to start, actually, let me go ahead and just launch a quick poll question here. So folks, if you don't mind answering the poll question today, I'd like to learn a little bit more about who's out there today. So it's a very simple question. How many accounting clients do you have? So 1 to 25, 26 to 75, 76 to 150, or more than 150, or not in public practice. And I see most of you have already voted at this point. So we'll just give a few more seconds for people to go ahead and vote. Going once, going twice. Okay, great. Well, thank you for your feedback there. It looks like the majority of you are 1 to 25 accounting clients, and then we've got some in the 26 to 75 category as well. Not too many larger firms with us today, so that's great to hear. So what we're going to be talking about, I think, is going to be very applicable to smaller firms like yours, or firms with a smaller number of accounting clients. So in a minute, we're going to talk about how you can make accounting highly profitable. Before that, I want to spend just a minute talking about the journey of AccountantsWorld's two co-founders, Chandra and Sharda Bansali. And I'm doing this because it's going to be really relevant to what we're going to discuss next. Chandra and Sharda, for 15 years, had a highly profitable, thriving tax software business. And in 2000, they decided to sell that business and start AccountantsWorld. And the reason they did that is that they uncovered a really disturbing reality of the accounting profession. And that was that technology companies were using technology to use against accountants, to use in favor of either clients, or in many cases, just in favor of the companies themselves. And what Chandra and Sharda found is that, especially in accounting and payroll, the power that accountants were losing in those core services was not only bad for them and how clients perceived them, but it was also bad for their clients as well. And so what they decided to do is to reverse that trend. They committed themselves to using technology in favor of accountants, and specifically to bring core business services, accounting and payroll, back to accountants and turn them into highly profitable services. And the way that they're going to do that is exactly what we discussed earlier, which is using the cloud innovatively. So what we're going to discuss in the next few slides is the result of the hard work that the entire AccountantsWorld team has put in over the past decade. So we're going to be talking about 5 ways to build sustainable value, not just short-term value, but value that can really sustain your practice and grow it profitably in the long term. We're going to talk about how you can transform after-the-fact write-up work, how you can offer streamlined, full-service client accounting services to clients who don't want to do any bookkeeping or accounting work, and you'll be surprised by how many of your clients fall into that category. We're going to talk about how you can offer virtual CFO services to all of your small business clients. We'll discuss how you can capitalize on the latest automation to profit from payroll processing. And finally, we're going to talk about upgrading your fee structure, bringing it into the 21st century if you haven't already done so. So let's start with accounting. If you ask accountants whether they like the profit margins that they get from client accounting work, the vast majority of accountants will say, no, I don't. I think it's a low profit margin service for me. And if you ask them why that's the case, they'll give you a lot of different reasons. You ask 100 accountants, you'll probably get 100 slightly different answers. But the reality is, we've investigated this for years and years and talked to hundreds, if not thousands of accountants about this very question. And what we think it ultimately boils down to is one simple fact, which is that accounting is no longer led by accountants. Instead, it's dominated by a do-it-yourself, a DIY solution created for and sold directly to your small business clients. And this model has created huge inefficiencies. Number one, those clients don't necessarily know anything about accounting or bookkeeping. They don't have to in order to use the software. And so they go into this quick software and they make lots and lots of bookkeeping errors. Not surprising, right? And then you have to go ahead and spend your time and your staff's time cleaning up those client errors. Secondly, many firms have to work with many different versions of accounting programs to support all of their various clients. I talked to an accountant recently who said that he has 13 different versions of accounting software currently running in his office, and I suspect that's probably not that uncommon. And finally, you have to worry about things like transferring files between you and your staff, as well as between you and your clients as well. The DIY system also diminishes the perceived value of accountants like you. Clients now often think they're the ones who are doing the accounting work because they're using DIY software. And the reality is that ends up making them question, well, what is it that my accountant is actually doing if I'm the one doing the accounting work? Now, we know that that's absolutely inaccurate, but that is how many clients perceive the situation. And third, it limits your ability to best serve your clients. I'm pretty sure you didn't get into accounting in order to be fixing client bookkeeping errors. You got in order to advise your small business clients on how they can grow their businesses. But if you are spending a lot of your time and your staff's time in a reactive position, that limits the amount of time you can spend proactively helping your clients. So what's the solution to all of this? It's very simple. The key to making accounting profitable is to put accountants back into the driver's seat. And the key here is that it has to be good for both you and your clients. A lot of times we'll walk through what we're about to show and accountants will say, well, that sounds really great, that matches what I'm looking for, but I'm not sure if my clients will go for it. And so a really important thing here is to note that we have to make this a win-win for both you and your clients, otherwise your clients might not go for it, right? And then that's not doing you any good. So we're committed to helping you to build value for your firm and at the same time add value to your clients' businesses as well. So here's how we're going to do that. So what you see in front of you is the model of a cloud-based unified professional accounting system. And there's actually only one of those out there, and that is our accounting system called Accounting Power. And what we've done differently than every other software provider out there, whether it's Intuit or Xero or Sage, is that we built a powerful professional system as the foundation of Accounting Power. A professional system that includes everything you see on the left-hand side there, a write-up system, a trial balance system, fully customizable financial statements, alerts, and client management and dashboard tools to help you manage your practice. And then we've added a comprehensive GL system on top of that, and that's what you see on the right-hand side there. Banking, sales, expenses, job costing, and inventory modules, plus much more. So by combining both of these things together, that's how we've created what we call the first ever fully unified cloud-based professional system. And this system is designed to put you, the accountant, back into the driver's seat. First of all, you get to customize the system for every single one of your clients. So if you have clients who are well-versed in doing accounting and bookkeeping work and well-qualified to do it, you can open up more permissions for them to do that kind of work, to continue to do it. If you have clients who don't know anything about accounting or bookkeeping, you can then restrict their permissions so that they can only view things and see files, but they can't actually edit anything and be doing the work themselves. So you have full control on a client-by-client basis. And secondly, the system is sold exclusively to professional accountants like you. Small business clients can't go onto our website and go ahead and buy Accounting Power. It's only sold to professional accountants. So you decide how to use the system to best serve the needs of each of your clients. So I think you see here how that's fundamentally different from every other system out there. And that approach is a real game changer. So let's take a look at what this allows you to do when you're customizing your accounting service for each client. Our goal is to help you to make more profit from most of your small business clients, help you to make after-the-fact write-up work hassle-free and more profitable, offer client accounting services easily and highly profitably for clients who find accounting to be bothersome. For clients who want to continue to do transaction entries or full bookkeeping work, you can collaborate with them inside the system. Again, it's one unified system for both you and your clients. And finally, for all of your small business clients, this system gives you the easy capability to offer virtual CFO and other higher level strategic advisory services. So let's talk about write-up. Many accountants find write-up to be their least profitable service, and there's really two reasons why. One is that write-up clients tend to be the most stringent about fees. They're very price conscious. And secondly, write-up has typically entailed lots of mundane manual data entry work. So how do we make this service more profitable? Well, it's actually very easy. What you do is you send a link to your clients. What you see in front of you is the Accounting Power Professional System. You'll see it's branded with your company's logo in the top left. And in fact, when your clients log in, they won't even see the words Accounting Power. They'll only see your company's brand on there. So you send a link to your clients, and by clicking on that link, they give you permission to download their bank transactions and credit card transactions. The key here is that you don't need to know their IDs or passwords, so there are no security or privacy concerns here. This is a very secure method. It's just one time your clients go in and give you permission to download their transactions, and you're all set. So once you have that permission, you come to the screen, you click on eBank, and now, within a few seconds, all the transactions, bank or credit card, are downloaded into the system. So in our test case here, 59 new transactions have been downloaded. And out of those 59, 56 were matched with existing vendors, and 3 didn't match with a vendor. So the system tries to match uploaded transactions to existing vendors, but certain transactions don't match, and those are identified as exceptions. So for those, you select them and you click Add New Vendor. And once you complete adding the new vendor information, you click Save, and then you will come to the View Check Image screen. So this screen will appear, and all the vendors have now been taken care of. And this screen now shows all the transactions that have been downloaded. So you can see here that an item has been highlighted on the right-hand side, and it's a check. So what do we do with that? Well, you just click on that and click View Image. And now you can see precisely what the check was written for, and you can make that entry in the system. And you repeat that for every check that was written. So you see here how easy this makes write-up work. But wait, there's more. So you can also come over to download bank statements, not just the transactions, but everything you need to do full write-up work for your clients. Just go to Import Statement up in the top right-hand corner. And so we can see here the full source document attached as a PDF. So when we combine those capabilities together, what can that do for your practice? Well, obviously this can reduce your data entry time dramatically, and in turn that reduces the potential for data entry errors. But let's think for a minute about what else this provides for accountants like you. So first of all, you're no longer chasing after clients for data, which is a benefit year-round, but especially during tax season. And this is also uniquely good for bank reconciliations. It's going to make those faster and easier than ever before. But I want to get back to tax season for a minute here. The most important additional benefit here is that it makes the crunch of tax time much easier for you and your staff. So think about how many hours you and your staff spend between January and March closing the books for your clients. Is it 100, 300, maybe more? Now imagine if you can reduce that time by 80%. What would that do for your practice and for your tax crunch? With Accounting Power's approach, you can spread your write-up work throughout the year. So every month you're closing the books instead of waiting till the end of the year. So at the end, you're left with only 20% of the work. Now let's talk about another important service that this offers, transaction processing. So let me show you how this accountant-centric approach in Accounting Power streamlines transaction processing, including bill payment. Now, bill payment is something that most accountants still refrain from offering because they consider it to be too much headache and too low profit margin of service to be worthwhile. But we're going to show you how, after you've transformed this service, you can make this highly profitable. So the approach is actually very simple. Clients use an app to take a snapshot of the bills to be paid. They can scan the invoices if they prefer that method. Either one is fine. And then when your staff logs in, that invoice has already been saved in Accounting Power, and all uploaded invoices will be displayed to your staff. Your staff enters in those invoices and then with a mouse click sends those invoices to the client for approval. The client approves the invoices to be paid, and then the approved invoices are paid by your staff using a method called digital checks, which we'll show in just a minute. So this is a really revolutionary way to minimize the amount of time required for bill payment services, for offering bill payment services. So let's take a look at what that looks like in the system. Take a look at the numbers in the white horse column here. So for this client, we've downloaded 3 checks to be paid, 6 are all ready to be approved, and 13 are ready for payment. Now let's see how this progresses. Sorry, let me go back here for a sec. So we're going to click on the unprocessed bills for Whitehorse, and now this screen will appear. So now we can go ahead and click on unprocessed bills and see the 3 unprocessed bills. So you click on the last one there, and you'll see the image of the bill to be paid. And all you do is take the total from that image and enter it onto the screen. And there are a lot of other capabilities on the screen that we don't have time for today. But the key here is that you or your staff do that simple action for each unprocessed bill. So now, once you've done that, when you or your staff comes back to the screen, now you can see those 3 bills have moved out of unprocessed and have moved to the to be approved queue. There were 6 to be approved before, now there's 9. So all you do is click on this and an email goes to the client with a link. And when they click that link, they'll see this next screen. So this is a view of the client screen. They have 3 options here. They can approve the full amount to be paid for all bills. Simply click on Approve Payments. They can choose not to pay any bills, or they can decide to pay any bill partially. And they can tell us when they want that bill to be paid. So they have full control over both the amount and the check date as well. So once the client does their step, then we come on back to your screen, and you see now we have 22 bills that are ready for payment. And you can also see that 1 bill was not approved by Whitehorse yet. So let's say that you had 20 clients in the system, each with 25 bills to be paid. That would be an awful lot of manual work to print all of those checks. But we eliminate that work via an extremely easy method called digital checks. So let's take a look at that. Until now, the main way to pay checks was via ACH, and that required routing information and account numbers. And not surprisingly, most of your clients don't feel comfortable sharing that information. But our digital checks don't require any of that sensitive information to be shared. It only requires the payee's email address. So when your staff goes to pay bills, say 20 bills, with just 1 click, each of those 20 vendors will get an email. The vendor gets an email, clicks on a link to cash that check, and an image appears with the amount to be paid. He simply goes to one field to enter the account number and another one to enter the routing number, and that's it. The payment is complete. And even better, the next time he's to be paid, he doesn't have to re-enter that information. He just clicks submit. So combining those two benefits, the seamless payment workflow and digital checks, the impact is really incredible. Your staff can now do what your client's staff has typically done, only you can do it faster, easier, more accurately, and at a much lower cost, all from your office. So what that really means is that now you can offer complete accounting services. You'll be able to do all of these tasks in about half the time that it takes your client staff to do them. That means that without paying you anything more than they're currently spending for internal bookkeeping staff, you can make this service 30% profitable for your firm, or even 40% or 50%. So think of the possibilities here. If you brought all of your clients together in one place and asked them to raise their hands if they love doing accounting, how many hands would go up? 1? The answer might actually be 0, right? Most business owners consider accounting activities in their office to just be a headache and a distraction from their core focus, which is obviously managing and growing their businesses. So what you do is you send your clients a letter or email, and you say, I know accounting isn't in your title or in your list of favorite things that you like to do. And previously, I couldn't have taken that burden off your plate. But thanks to the latest technology, now I can. And it won't cost you a penny more than what you're currently paying. And you, the client, get to focus on running your business. So they'll be glad to offload those headaches to you, and now you can take over that work to relieve their pain. And since your staff is able to do all that work in about half the time, you're going to be able to make offering complete accounting services highly profitable. So again, we're looking to make this a win-win, right? We want you to be able to boost your profits and at the same time be able to add more value to your clients as well. Now, I'm going to show a couple of the options we offer in our system to help you offer virtual CFO services. So this screen is called Snapshot. So on one screen, you can see a bird's eye view of all of your clients, including important parameters like cash balances, accounts receivable, accounts payable, the amount of checks written, etc. And since no two clients are alike, you can set a threshold for each client for each parameter. So for client A, maybe you set the cash balance threshold at any time it goes under 100,000. But for other clients, you may know that that's not a meaningful parameter, and so you set it at 500,000 for those clients. And then anytime the actual value goes outside of the threshold, it'll be displayed in red. So you can see some of the fields on here have been displayed in red. And you can filter and sort to quickly identify just the clients with potential issues. That's what the red indicates, is that there's potential issues that you should be investigating. So now you can call that client, or we offer an alternative where you can send a message directly through the system to your client. And this is how you identify potential problems before your client even knows that there's an issue. And obviously that kind of proactive work really boosts their perception of the value that you're delivering. Now, no matter how many clients you have, you know exactly which clients have potential problems that you should be following up on. Now, here's another option. It's called Client Dashboard. So for each client, you'll have a specific dashboard that gives you a bird's eye view of that client's fiscal health. You have a graphical representation. You can compare this month or year's income to the previous years. You can change the drop-down to budgeted versus actual. It also shows cash balances in their accounts. So if we're falling behind on deliverables, you know which clients have a potential cash flow problem, and you can go ahead and adjust your checks accordingly. And there are many other items here which we don't have time to discuss in detail today, but the bottom line is both you and your clients have a much clearer picture of their fiscal health. There are a number of other analytical and professional tools that we offer to help you to offer virtual CFO services. We offer alerts, A performance report, which includes much more information than the dashboard and can be presented in a way that's really client-friendly. Financial ratios, fully customizable financial statements that really boost your image with your clients. A complete professional trial balance system, and consolidation between different companies. So what this allows you to do is to offer virtual CFO services. And I should mention, I mentioned before that value billing can't really do much for you in your core services like accounting and payroll. Well, value billing does work very well for offering virtual CFO services. And the reason is that clients have a very high perception of the potential value of a CFO. And most small business clients simply believe that they can't afford a CFO, whether they think that it's $150,000 per year or whatever it might be. So if you tell them, listen, I can offer you the most important services that a CFO would offer, and I can do it for a fraction of that perceived cost, well, it makes sense to use their high perceived value of that service to your benefit, right? Be able to match that high perceived value to a high price that you can charge as well. Next up, let's talk about payroll. The key to a profitable payroll service is automation. And our payroll solution, Payroll Relief, has helped thousands of accountants offer incredibly profitable payroll services. And the reason is that Payroll Relief does all of the following automatically on time with guaranteed accuracy. Direct deposits, tax deposits, e-filing of federal and state tax forms, electronic payment of garnishment, all of those and much more are handled automatically by the system. This allows you to minimize data entry, and in fact, you can even avoid paycheck printing in your office. We just did a payroll webinar earlier today, and one of our customers was talking about how he is a fully paperless payroll practice. There is 0 checks that are printed in his office. If you have a larger payroll processing service, we offer next generation batch processing with Payroll Relief for W-2s, 1099s, and emails. And Payroll Relief also offers tools such as a process manager and activity tracking. So you see here how we've turned payroll processing into a very highly profitable service for accountants, and you can see some of the great things that our customers are saying about our payroll processing service. So whether you're currently offering payroll services or not, I really encourage you to think about how payroll can be offered hassle-free and stress-free. You don't have to worry about compliance issues, which is the #1 thing that holds people back from offering payroll. And if you are offering payroll services, the question to ask yourself is, can I make it 20%, 30%, or even 50% more profitable than it currently is? So the last thing I want to talk about is your fee structure. So we mentioned before that we don't encourage you to offer value billing or value pricing on your core services. So a lot of accountants have asked us, well, how should I charge my accountants or charge my clients for accounting and payroll core services? And one of the ideas that's floated out there is maybe I should just be continuing to charge hourly fees for those. And our answer to that is absolutely not. We think, bluntly speaking, that hourly fees are an outdated, irrational system for accountants to be using. And the reason is that if you use these techniques that we've talked about in our webinar today to make your practice more efficient and more innovative, what hourly fees does is it actually penalizes you for having become more innovative, right? Because you're getting the same work done in fewer hours, or you're getting more work done in the same number of hours. That makes no sense at all. So what is much more rational is charge a simple monthly fixed fee for your ongoing core services. And in terms of deciding how much to charge for your monthly fixed fee, you can look at your last 12 months or 24 months worth of historicals for a client, see how much you've billed them for total, and then divide that by 12 or 24 to get an approximation of what you should be charging them. And a really great thing is that many of our customers have found that they can actually charge a little premium above that of 5% or 10%, because clients love the cost certainty of monthly fixed fee. Instead of wondering how much you're going to be charging them, they know exactly how much to expect. And that predictability is worth a lot to them, and you can charge them accordingly. As I mentioned before, virtual CFO and other strategic advisory services are still great candidates for value pricing or value billing. So a quick recap of the ways to build value. We want to make after-the-fact write-up work highly efficient. We want you to be able to offer highly streamlined, complete client accounting services to your clients and get them out of the accounting and bookkeeping game altogether. We want you to be able to offer virtual CFO services to your small business clients. We want you to capitalize on tremendous automation in payroll processing to be able to boost the payroll processing that you either are already offering, or if you're not offering, be able to introduce a brand new service to your firm that can be very profitable. And we want you to switch your core services over to a fixed monthly fee. And we've got many more ideas on ways for you to use the cloud innovatively to boost your bottom line and better serve your clients. And we'd love to have a conversation with you about how to do that. So I want to thank you for joining us today. When this webinar concludes in a couple of minutes, you're going to see a post-webinar survey pop up, and it's going to ask you if you'd like to receive more information from AccountantsWorld about some of the tools that we've talked about today. I should also mention that you might be wondering why we showed AccountantsWorld products throughout this presentation, and that's because we're the only provider of accountant-centric solutions for accounting and payroll. So we would love for there to be other solutions providers that also put accountants first and allow accountants to customize their services and their software for each client, but that simply doesn't exist out in the marketplace outside of our accounting power and payroll relief solutions. So if you'd like to learn more about those solutions, please indicate so on your post-webinar survey. You can also call us at any time for a free, risk-free consultation. We'll be happy to walk you in a live demo through either solution or both solutions. You can call 888-999-1366 or visit accountantsworld.com to learn more. And I would just conclude by saying that we've got a real passion for helping accountants like you thrive. And if you've got a passion for growing your practice and serving your clients better, we're here to help you be able to recognize and really capitalize on that. So thank you very much for your time today. Please let us know in the post-webinar survey what we can do to demonstrate how we can help you to become more successful with your practice. Thanks again, and have a great rest of the week.